Can you believe it? Wellness Rebranded is turning 3. We're throwing a party.
And it's not just any party. We'll have a live recording of the podcast happening right there. So bring your questions, your stories, and maybe even your sass because you just might end up on the show.
It's going to be a night of community connection and a whole lot of fun. So mark your calendar for October 23rd. Grab your friends and come celebrate 3 years of rebranding wellness with us. We cannot wait to see you there.
Check out the link below for all the details.
Welcome to Wellness Rebranded, the podcast for women ready to redesign their relationship with food, fitness, and feelings.
We are a registered dietitian, a personal trainer, and a mental health therapist. 3 experts, 1 mission.
To help you break free from diet culture, hustle culture, and emotional burnout, let's redefine what wellness really means on your terms. Hello, everybody. This is Elizabeth and Tara. Maria is out sick today, but Tara, you and I were having a conversation in my training session this morning, and both of us said, hey, we need to talk about this on the pod. So here we are. We basically just want to have a conversation about health and what it means and maybe some surprising ways that we can nurture our health and well-being that don't have anything to do with food or exercise. So it's funny that Maria's not here. So one of the things that I was saying is I think in our culture, we tend to think of health in black and white terms. Like we're either healthy or we're not healthy, when really health exists on a spectrum and it's a continuum.
Yeah, totally. I think that we get so caught up in the black and white when really it's just some days you make choices that move you a little bit closer to one side of the spectrum, and some days you make choices that move you a little closer to the other.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason why I was interested in having this conversation is because, diet culture and wellness culture magnify the quote unquote personal responsibility around health. And I cannot tell you how many conversations I've had with people who are full of shame or guilt because they have some sort of health condition and they feel like it's their fault. And it's largely because of the messaging we get. Diet culture makes us think that health comes down to food, weight, and exercise primarily.
Right. It's not just about kale and cardio.
It's not all kale and cardio. Maybe that's the name of this episode. Yeah, it isn't. And the reason why I think it's important to have that conversation is because it can help take the pressure off. Of course, I'm a dietitian. I think how you eat is important. You're a personal trainer. I know you think how you move is important.
Absolutely.
And we can celebrate and encourage those things while also recognizing that they're not the end all be all. And even if you did both of those things, quote unquote, perfectly, you still might get sick, right?
Yeah.
And maybe you don't do those things at all and you might not be sick, right? Or you never know what's going to happen down the road. And I hate the shame-inducing narrative around health.
Yeah. First of all, we're not morally obligated to have great health or great fitness. I think that's something that most of us want just because, you feel a little bit better when you're healthy, right? But it's not a moral obligation.
Yeah, and something I've been thinking a lot about recently is thinking about even more than health, thinking about well-being, because to me that encapsulates so much more. It's like easier in a way to access this idea that health is so much more than what you eat and how you move and the number you see on the scale, right? It's like really your well-being, how you're able to be in the world and how you feel. And
to me, I feel like there is a disconnect between health being the absence of disease and well-being being thriving in your body.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's my priority, or my passion has always been health promotion. I want to help people thrive.
Yes.
Because I feel like, I guess, for the most part, the wellness practices that I've been able to adopt, partly it's because I was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition when I was in high school. So I at a really young age had pretty significant health ramifications. I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis and had to take heavy duty steroids and got blood drawn every week, and I couldn't move, and
I always forget this about you.
every single one of my joints was inflamed, including my jaw, and I had like baseballs on my knees and golf balls on my wrists. And so I just learned from an early age what happens when we aren't thriving, I guess. And I think that's why it's always been such a passion for me. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about is, okay, so if it's not just diet and exercise and the number on the scale, then what else is it? And I think there's some surprising things that we just don't think about that really impact our health. So the first one is your zip code.
Yes. Where you live matters.
Yeah. We just don't think about it. But I recently saw a statistic that babies born in Washington, D.C., there's a 7-year difference in life expectancy versus babies born just a few counties away. And similarly, in New Orleans, babies born just a few miles apart from one another, there can be a 25-year difference in life expectancy.
Really?
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
So obviously,
I'm really sad.
we know that there's a difference, right, in where you're born and how you're raised matters. But to hear like a number put on that is shocking.
I had never heard a number put on it either. And I saw the statistic in a book I'm reading right now, and it really just kind of grabbed me.
So tell us about that. Why? If you're born a few miles apart, like what's different?
Well, socioeconomic status is huge, right? What wellness can be expensive.
Yes.
Healthy food can be expensive. Access to trainers can be expensive.
Totally.
Maybe there's a food desert, and just access to food, period, is expensive. And quality of medical care in certain places, they may not have great quality care. I mean, there's a million reasons, but it's a really huge component.
Yeah. I think the education piece of that is notable too. You know,
So that was second on my list, was education level.
Look at me reading mine.
We didn't even compare lists.
I just feel like, you know, if you're in a place that has really great education, you're going to be able to like kind of internalize those messages at a younger age and carry them with you throughout the lifespan, rather than maybe being born in an area where there's not such great education and then as an adult discovering, you know, these health and wellness practices that maybe you adopt when you're in your 20s and 30s. Like those decades matter.
So similarly, the statistic I saw around this is that comparing a person with a PhD to someone who just has a high school education, there can be a 10-year difference in life expectancy.
What?
Now, these are all coming from this book I'm reading, which is really specifically related to corporate wellness, but there's, you know, she cites studies to back them all up. So I didn't go look at the studies myself, but I assume that they're true.
Interesting.
Another one is community. And this is something that we've touched on in various ways in the podcast. But and actually, I think every time I've said, I don't really know the exact statistic, but today I can provide a number, folks. Social isolation can decrease life expectancy by up to 45%, according to some studies. And conversely, those who have strong social relationships are 50% less likely to die young.
I love that. And I will say, I see this all the time at the gym. I've probably shared it on the pod before that, you know, I have this group of older ladies that I train. And while the stuff that we do physically is super important, I really feel that the huge benefit that they get is coming and having that social community to check on each other and to like commiserate and share life experiences. You know, that is every bit as important as the physical movement that we do.
Yeah. I mean, I think some studies would say possibly even more important. I mean, it's huge. So a couple of other ones that I had, financial well-being. I didn't write down the statistic on that one, but that is definitely, you know, I mean, it makes sense, right? It even ties in with the first thing that we were saying, the quality of your relationships. So not just loneliness, or isolation, but actually having high quality, positive relationships, being in a caretaking role, which ironically we're recording another episode where we were talking about mothers as caregivers. That was interesting to me, by the way. I've raised 3 kids, and while I know I was taking care of them, I never like thought of that as being a caretaker. Like I think of that as like caring for an elderly relative.
Agreed. I don't consider it to be that either, but obviously you are taking care of kids.
Right. Yeah, that's just like I forgot to say that when we were having that conversation earlier, but I was like, "Oh, yeah. I guess that was me." Stress.
Huge.
Yeah. I've shared many times on the podcast, but the last class I took in my master's program was the mind-body connection through the lifespan. And essentially it was about stress and loneliness and the impact on health. And it is permanently seared into my brain, the effects of chronic unmanaged stress and how it literally causes wear and tear in every single organ system in your body and contributes to, I mean, name a disease, it probably has been linked with chronic unmanaged stress.
This feels like a good time for me to mention that last night I had my progressive relaxation class.
Ooh la la.
So, of course, I'm feeling all like loosey-goosey and yummy today and unstressed, at least for a few minutes.
I wish I could say that.
But my next progressive relaxation class, for those of you that are local here in Anne Arundel County, is November 18th at 7 p.m. So save the date, and I'll throw a link to register in my show notes.
Ooh, I love that. Well, I'll throw out there that if you're looking to decrease your stress around food, you should grab my intuitive eating starter kit, and the link is in the show notes. But so again, why is it important to have a whole conversation about this? One, if anyone is not aware, essentially what we're talking about are the social determinants of health. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a great graphic that floats around. I think it's by I feel like called Go in Vingo or something like that. But essentially it's a pie chart, and it shows kind of all the different things that impact a person's health and wellness. We didn't talk about genetics, but obviously that is a huge one.
Huge.
And only about 30% of the pie is related to individual lifestyle behaviors, right? So all the other things are many of the things we just mentioned: genetics, environment, socioeconomic status, all of those things. And of the 30% that is related to diet or related to lifestyle behaviors, I think most people assume that means diet and exercise. It actually doesn't. Diet and exercise are part of it, but it's things like not smoking, or, your
moderate
alcohol intake, whether you wear a seatbelt, whether you do drugs, whether probably how much social media time you spend, how much access to the outdoors. I don't know. I made those last two up, but
I mean, it sounds good to me.
I feel like it might be right.
We'll claim that as fact. I feel like this is a thing. I'm glad you brought that up, because this is like where the wellness industry gets it wrong.
Yeah.
We ignore the fact that these social determinants of health are a social determinant, and we place blame and responsibility on the individuals.
Well, and what happens is the research gets muddied because they don't necessarily account for these or control for these factors in the studies. And then it's like, oh, yep, it's definitely weight. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, is it? If you have lower socioeconomic status and you have less access to kind of all of these things, maybe you might be at a higher weight, but is that the weight that caused it or the socioeconomic status? Right? Or if you're in a larger body, but you live somewhere that has terrible air pollution and they haven't controlled for that in the study, you can't really definitively say that it's the weight that caused it. And so the research is convoluted at best.
It's easier to blame the individual than it is to address like systemic issues like that.
Hi, I'm Alice Ann Loftus, the founder of Leading Lady Coaching. As a business coach, consultant, and leadership expert, I help high-achieving women build successful, sustainable businesses without burnout. With years of experience as an entrepreneur, I know firsthand the challenges women face in business and leadership. That's why I'm passionate about empowering women to step into their confidence, create businesses that work for them, and lead with both strategy and heart. Through my coaching, online communities, and live workshops, I provide the tools and support you need to thrive, not just in business, but in life. If you're ready to take the lead and build a business that truly serves you, I'd love to connect. Visit www.leadinglady-coaching.com And follow me on Instagram and Facebook for daily inspiration and expert advice. Let's make success feel as good as it looks.
As a parent, you know that worry, the one that creeps in when your child struggles to adjust to new teachers, new friends, new classrooms. You see their confidence slip when other kids seem to just get it quicker. And with teachers stretched so thin, your child isn't failing, but they're not really flourishing either. That's why I love what TCP Youth Empowerment is doing. Their mentors step into classrooms walking alongside the kids, encouraging them, celebrating every win, and reminding them that they are capable. I honestly wish they were in my child's school. Right now, they're just in 4 schools in Anne Arundel County, but with our support, they can reach so many more. So please, text TCP to 44-321 or visit tcpyouthempowerment.org and give today, because every child deserves an adult in their corner, and your gift can put one there.
So the research gets muddied, and I think it's so important to keep talking and having this conversation about zooming out on health, because it can lower the pressure, it can lower the shame, the guilt that people feel, and allow people to access more self-compassion around what is or isn't happening with their health, which I think is hugely important.
You know, one of the places where I see the social determinants of health get kind of muddied is when we talk about 10,000 steps a day. Right? And we've done an episode on that, right? So just walking in general, like everybody always says in the fitness space, like, well, walking is free. It's easy. If you have legs that work, you can do it. You know, so like most people could probably walk, but many people live in areas where there's not safe place to walk.
Yeah. Or, you know, half the year it's really dark, right?
Yeah. Or it's super cold.
Yeah.
You know, I live in Edgewater, Maryland, which is like a small town outside of Annapolis, and it on the whole tends to be pretty safe. And even in my neighborhood, where I know many of my neighbors, like, I don't really like walking after dark.
Yeah.
You know, it just, I'm uneasy with it. Like, so I can't imagine living in like a bigger city or, you know, wherever, and just having to be like, well, my favorite fitness influencer says I should walk. It's free and easy.
Right.
You know, like, it just doesn't take into account the whole big picture.
So I also thought that it would be interesting if part of this conversation we talked about some maybe like either underrated or overlooked, even though like a lot of the conversation is kind of shifting off the personal responsibility. The fact is there are still many things that we can do to promote our well-being and our health. And I thought it would be helpful to talk about some of the ones that aren't food and exercise, just to kind of help people zoom out.
Yeah.
So I cheated because I already have my list, and I don't know if you have a list readily available. But one of the things that I have is volunteering.
Ooh, I love that one.
So many mental, social, physical benefits. You know, there's research that people who volunteer and serve others better mood, less stress, more connected to their purpose. Like, it's definitely good for your well-being and therefore your health.
Love that. Being of service is a part of my family's like core values, so I love that one, and I would not have thought of that. So good eye on that one.
All right, you got one.
I don't have a list, but I'm gonna say doing something that kind of fulfills you, that has nothing to do with your job. So for me, I really like doing art. I'm a terrible artist, and I definitely need guidance. So I'll like often go to like a paint night and paint my picture and do whatever I want. And if it looks terrible, I don't care. And then I throw it in the trash on the way out the door. Like, I don't even bring it home.
I mean, I'm saying but I've done that very same thing because an artist I am not. But,
I just like the idea of going and being creative and doing
sometimes you do it
something
with
just
friends,
for me.
right?
Yes.
So I have creative well-being was one of the things on my list.
Oh.
Which incidentally is one of the ways to complete the stress cycle, doing creative things, which is probably one of the ways that it supports your health.
Love that.
Laughing. If our friend Julie Blanfin was
Yes.
here, she would make us all literally stop and laugh right now. It's so awkward.
It's so awkward.
It's so awkward, but
And
I
yet
get
so
it.
beneficial.
Exactly.
We won't do that to you, though.
So laughing, we're not particularly funny today, Tara. So we're not making anyone laugh. We're trying.
Listen, it's been a day.
If people had been here earlier today, they'd know why we were not laughing. Even though we've recorded literally 3 years worth of podcast episodes, we have a problem with the microphone every single
time. I had to call in reinforcements, and shout out to Marcus
Yeah,
for
Tara's husband showed up today.
coming to save us. And we're still not even sure this is recording right.
Dental health.
Oh, huge.
Yeah, did you know that there's quite a bit of research that dental health is connected or, linked with heart health?
Yes, I do know that.
I just had a dentist reach out to me actually who wanted to network, and I was like, that's cool.
That is cool.
And it was specifically because she said we try to promote whole health with our
Love that.
people and understand like nutrition and obviously dental health are related and overall health. I was like, that's really cool.
That is really cool.
Career. So according to Gallup, which is probably not validated scientific research, people who are thriving in their careers are 50% more likely to be thriving overall and to live into their 90s.
Whoa. So if you have a terrible boss, quit your job?
You didn't hear that here.
Asking
Because
for a friend?
remember, one of the other ones is financial well-being.
Oh, right. Oh, right.
So
Dang it.
tightrope there. But it is an argument for, trying to do something you love, which thankfully I have told all of my college age kids. Don't worry about what makes you the most money. Worry about doing the thing that you're going to love doing.
Good advice.
I also have mindfulness. I'm a huge advocate of this. I've seen the benefit of it in my own life, meditation, but also there's so much research.
Yeah. Totally. While you were saying that, I just thought of another one.
Oh, okay.
Stopping the scroll,
Yeah.
like putting social media, some boundaries around social media or about phone use, or even in general screen time.
Yeah.
I think that would be a huge benefit
That
to
scene
most
from
of
A
us.
Christmas Story where the kid wants a BB gun and the mom's like, you'll shoot your eye out.
Yeah.
I feel like my version of that I've said to my kids forever is like, it's going to rot your brain.
Totally. I feel like my kids' version will be like, social media will cause depression and anxiety, and it won't make your life very fulfilled.
Yeah. Sleep. I know that's maybe not as creative, let's say, as some of my other examples, but I do feel like it's underrated. And I believe that there is research that suggests that lack of sleep can actually shrink your brain.
Whoa.
So it is certainly connected to your cognitive function and mental health, which we all know, but also your overall health. Like one thing that I always tell my clients that I work with what I call the 5 pillars of wellness. And one of them is food, exercise, sleep, stress management, and then mindset and your relationship with food and your body. And they're all connected, right? If you don't get a good night's sleep, your hunger and satiety hormones the next day are going to be dysregulated and you are likely to eat more. If you have chronic stress and you don't know how to manage it, then your cortisol levels are going to be chronically elevated, and that can cause wear and tear in your body over time. So they're all connected, but I think sleep is a really important one and can be so helpful to just go to bed.
And it feels so good to sleep. Like your bed is so comfy and you get to shut your brain off for a little while.
And also for all my fellow perimenopause, menopause people out there, it's so hard to sleep now.
Oh no.
So sad.
Wait, I thought you were doing better though.
I am doing so much better, but better does not mean like how I used to sleep in my 20s or 30s.
Yeah.
Better just means like some nights, many nights now, I sleep most of the night. Whereas for a while, before I started taking hormone replacement therapy for bone density, I see you 2 mornings a
remember.
week, and every morning I'd be like, I was up all night. I wasn't sleeping at all.
I'm hoping that part of perimenopause and menopause skips me.
Yeah.
I'm really cranky if I don't get enough sleep.
Same, girl. Same.
Luckily, at this point, I still sleep like a teenager. when my bladder cooperates.
So the last one, Tara, I know that this will get you jazzed. It's not exactly exercise, but sort of. And it's neat.
Oh, love some neat.
Yeah. Tell the people.
So
We're
neat.
not talking about your vacuum, although I do love my vacuum. Tara's looking.
It like took me by surprise. I'm like, a vacuum? What?
I like to be neat. I like my vacuum.
I mean, I hear you.
But that's not what we're speaking of. I totally threw you off.
I was about to explain it, and then I was like, whoa,
Wait,
tangent
what?
squirrel.
Does she know what she's talking about?
So NEAT stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And it is basically all the calories that you burn when you're just alive and not necessarily exercising.
Well, it's like it's moving around,
Yes.
and just being alive, but not physically exercising.
Yes.
So like
it's like all the movement you do in your day. Like, oh, I'm going to walk out to the car. I'm going to take this basket of laundry upstairs. It's just like your movement that's not exercise.
right, and that's probably correlated with all that research that shows even if you got up and like ran 3 miles or did your Peloton or did yoga, but then the whole rest of the day you were sedentary, that's actually still detrimental for your health.
Totally. I'm sure that's where the like sitting is more dangerous than smoking like stuff comes from. Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah, so like the flip side of NEAT, right, is avoiding prolonged sitting.
Yes. So you're super good at that, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
I feel like you're not a sitter.
I'm definitely not a sitter. I do not like sitting.
So I love sitting, but I think it's because I'm standing all day.
Yeah.
So as soon as I'm off work, I'm like, and
I mean,
just,
don't get me
melt
wrong.
into
Like,
the
there's
couch.
times where I'm like, want to sit down on the couch and veg. But on the whole, I really, just by nature, I'm like a doer, I guess. But also, I just don't like sitting around. It drives me crazy.
Yes. And I think that's actually really helpful for people's health. That's where, like, on your Apple Watch, where it says, like, time to stand, like when it gives you those cues, like, get up and do it. Like, I think that's really beneficial for us.
Yeah. So one of the reasons, or one of the things that I was thinking about as we were having this conversation, if you're out there listening and you're really struggling with food or exercise or body image healing right now, maybe this inspires you to pick a different area of your health and well-being that's perhaps more accessible to you right now than making changes there.
Yeah.
Or if you just needed some inspiration to focus on some other things that can promote your health and well-being, or to take some pressure off of some of the other areas, maybe.
We can all commit to wearing our seatbelt every time we're in the car.
Yeah.
Like we can all commit to like drinking enough water or quitting smoking.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to always be the diet and exercise.
Right. Yeah.
I love that. I love this episode. I'm glad we did this.
Yeah.
I feel like, it's kind of takes some of the pressure off of feeling like everything has to be perfect, when in reality, a lot of us are doing a lot of good things already.
Yeah, true. And also just gain perspective, right? Of zooming out.
Yes.
And looking at truly whole health and well-being.
Absolutely.
It's like they were a fly in our training session this morning. So really what we should do is just wear microphones while I'm training, because half the conversations we have really could and should end up on the pod.
Honestly, like we'll just click record next time.
Right. I would, unfortunately, they'd have to hear me like grunting and complaining. That would be the argument against that. Swearing I'm not doing any more squats or lunges.
And then Mav will come in and say, let's do squats.
Yeah. They get to hear Marcus's funny jokes, which are sometimes off color.
Sometimes.
All right, you guys, thank you for listening to another episode of Wellness Rebranded. If you like this episode, please share it with friends. There's so many people that just need less pressure around their food and exercise, and we would love for you to share this with them. We would love for you to write us a review.
Yes.
If you write us a review on Apple Podcasts, we will love you forever, and we will share it here on the pod. It's also about to be our 3rd year anniversary, so that would be a great way for you to show us some anniversary love. And be sure to check the show notes for information on Tara's progressive muscle relaxation, on my intuitive eating starter kit, and I also have a new quiz called What Kind of Eater Are You? And if you are wondering why you are struggling with food, or you've been trying to make changes and you just can't seem to make healthy habits that stick, this quiz can give you a lot of insight about your eating patterns and what's driving your eating and some initial steps to help you maybe shift that. So I'll make sure we link that in the show notes too. My What Type of Eater Are You quiz.
Look at you, like, drawing us in with your quizzes. It's like reminiscent of Cosmo back in your teenage years.
That's really
I love
funny.
it.
Yeah. I was pretty excited about this. Creating a quiz is very technically challenging.
I believe it.
Just gonna say. All right, you guys, thanks again for being here, and we will see you next time.
Thank you for listening. If you want to connect with me outside of this podcast, you can find me on Instagram at coaching_therapist.
I'm Elizabeth. You can find me at Elizabeth Harris Nutrition or in my Facebook group, Health and Healing with Intuitive Eating.
And I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Tara DeLeon Fitness. Guys, if you loved this episode or any of our other episodes, we would love it if you would leave us a review on Apple Podcast. It really, really helps us get the non-diet word out to the rest of the world. So please leave us a review.
Yes, thank you.